we'll be underway here shortly.
Between playing Esper Humans in Indianapolis and now 2 Gitaxian Pros in his Deathblade list, I'm going to be starting the Bernie fan club pretty soon.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite players on, at least in the Midwest Open Series. I like the cut of his jib.
So we see a Misty Rainforest to start the show here. Gitaxian Probe, 18. Getting ready to write it all down. You got to be thrilled right now.
Now that said, I'm not that thrilled with pairing Gitaxian Pro with this many Thoughtseize because of the life total. I'd probably move one of his 3 Thoughtseizes into an Inquisition, for example, but his heart's in the right place.
See a hand here of Spell Pierce, Stoneforge Mystic, Source of Plowshares, Brainstorm, Arid Mesa, and a Wasteland for these players. So you see one's
I wonder if knowing about that Wasteland is going to help inform Bernie on what lands he should be fetching for.
It's anyone's guess. It's really anyone's guess. I think it's to draw a card. Wow, that is that's unbelievable. I think he drew another Gitaxian Probe. I'm not positive. You are a real innovator. I got to give it to you. Creeping Tar Pit going to start the show. Maybe he's perfectly fine with that being wastelanded.
Perhaps.
We'll see.
Only he knows. Chris certainly doesn't, because he's not armed with his own Gitaxian Probe.
That's true. See how VanMeter wants to go about these next couple of turns here. Does have a Ponder. Can leave up some mana for swords or counter spells. Can also just try to resolve Stoneforge Mystic right now.
A lot of decisions. If only he was working with more information. If there was only some way.
So I'm telling you, he should just play 64 cards. That's probably easiest.
Yeah.
It's basically free, so.
It is essentially free.
Yeah.
And Bernie's deck looks very nice. I saw a couple Beta Tundras floating out in his hand there.
Oh, wow. VanMeter going to sacrifice Misty Rainforest. Looks like he's going to go for Stoneforge Mystic this go around. He's not going to be baited into a wasteland. Is Mystic okay? You know I have it. From your Gitaxian Probe. The answer is yes. So we'll see what equipment Chris does search out. He's going to go and get Batterskull. So this is a really interesting thing I've been realizing over the course of Legacy at the beginning of this year and the back end of last year. I feel like players are very trained to go get Batterskull at Stoneforge Mystic. And to me, it seems like they should be searching for Sword or Jite more. Because I think a lot of the times, especially with how many copies, of Stoneforge Mystic are running around right now, people are just trying to make sure Stoneforge Mystic, sure, it resolves, but you just kill it so the Batterskull gets stranded in the hand. And I think that it would be better if they actually just were able to cast their equipment, especially when they have True Name in their deck. And True Name is so much better when it's holding a Sword or a Jite as opposed to a Batterskull because it's more realistic for you to pay those equip costs.
Yeah, I do wish that some of these decks actually had a Sword because both Jite and Batterskull are kind of predicated on your Stoneforge or one of your early creatures surviving. And Jite isn't necessarily good against all the control decks, where Sword is powerful in a game that gets drawn out and is castable. So, and we saw that in the last round too. It wasn't.
I feel like this is just something that's happening so much now because, surprise, surprise, Swords on Stoneforge Mystic. Now you're stranded with the Batterskull. I mean, yes, you do have a Batterskull in your hand for when you do make it to the mid and late stages of the game, but I think the goal for Bernie at that point is, when you finally do get to 5 mana, I'm just going to have a way to deal with your Batterskull. I'm not going to care. And I honestly feel like, it's very rare nowadays that we see a turn 2 Stoneforge, turn 3, put my Batterskull in, turn 4. You can't win anymore.
Oh, no, I totally agree. I think it has to be part of a larger puzzle. And it's different with the Esper Blade decks because they're trying to run someone out of resources. With the blue-white-red deck, it's, getting into 5 mana is not happening in a high percentage of games.
And especially when they have, when you're playing like a blue-red mirror, for example, they have Swords and Bolt. So I can't imagine your 1-2 living very long. So I don't know. It's just something that I've kind of noticed as you see VanMeter pick up another copy of Stoneforge Mystic. So he's going to be able to play and resolve that. You see Bernie going to take a look at his hand, says that's good to go. We'll see what equipment he does search for here. I think he's only got left in Umezawa's Jite, yeah. He's got one left, and then he's got some other equipment in his sideboard. When we do get to the sideboard of games, we will talk about that, but Jite going to go to the grip. As good as a card as Batterskull is, and there's obviously no denying how powerful that card is, might be time maybe to search up a little something different.
It's only good once it's in play.
That's accurate. That is very accurate. If it never gets in play, it's like you didn't do anything.
Right. So we'll see if Bernie has a way to kill the Stoneforge Mystic. Of course, he can't cut him off of white with 2 Tundras.
Thoughtseize time. So you see a hand of Spell Pierce, Swords to Plowshares, 2 pieces of equipment that Stoneforge was able to search up, and an Arid Mesa. Bye-bye Batterskull. Really good Batterskull this game.
Yeah. Bernie all the way down to 14 now from self-inflicted damage.
Yeah, this is something that you mentioned at the top too, where when you have Probe side by side with Thoughtseize, there's
a lot of damage.
That's a lot. Yeah, you're dealing a lot to yourself,
Yeah.
especially when you're playing against a deck that does have Reach and 4 Lightning Bolts.
Yeah.
Scrubland maybe the choice of the day. You said these are beta
Oh, I
duels?
misidentified.
Well,
That's my fault.
I actually don't know. You would know so much better than me.
Those are 4 and black borders.
Okay. Yep. Are those worth more or less than beta?
They're worth less.
Okay. I'm not good with the whole beta, revised, alpha. I have no idea about this sort of stuff.
Well, beta versus alpha, you can't really tell from afar because
Okay.
it's just the corners that are a little bit different.
Okay.
But 4 and black border, there's just way more text in the text box.
Force of Will to draw here for VanMeter. For what it's worth, I accept your apology.
Yep. There's definitely an apology in earnest.
See what VanMeter wants to do here. You see he's looking at that hand of Spell Pierce, Force of Will. Gotham Jite, his last equipment left. Still holding on to that Swords. Could take care of Deathrite Shaman if he wants to. Could fire for Wasteland, but I doubt that will occur. So we'll see.
Well, I like him trying to leverage his mana advantage a little bit here now that he has a Spell Pierce in hand. Not advantage, but the Pierce gets better the less mana Bernie has, of course. I'm not sure how much VanMeter really wants to hold on to that land now that he's discarded that Batterskull.
We could see him get a little crazy, right? And just go, like Wasteland you, Sword your Deathrite, try to cut your mana.
Oh, sure.
That's not what's going to happen now, but that was a line of play available to him if he really wants to get him. See, VanMeter's going to sacrifice Arid Mesa. Going to go get a land out of his deck. Volcanic Island, the choice of the day.
Yeah, but I really like going. I think I really like going beat down on Bernie's mana here.
Feels like that's what we're going to see. Yep, Sword your Deathrite. So there goes the 1-2. Bernie going to go up to 14. And then VanMeter going to fire off a Wasteland, take care of the Creeping Tar Pit. So this is what you wanted to see.
Yep. I like this line of play from Chris. It puts a lot of pressure on Bernie to have a removal spell. And even in that world, if Chris is feeling so inclined, he can force it and try to just win this way.
See a couple copies of Wasteland here in Wen's hand. And you see VanMeter, of course, leaving Stoneforge Mystic up so it can slide through Umezawa's Jite and not open it up to counter magic. There is the Wasteland. This is a Brainstorm to start things off. See VanMeter going to take a look. Could slide in Jite right now. Could Spell Pierce this. Could cast Force of Will on it if he senses weakness.
Yeah, I prefer doing nothing, which is what it appears Chris decided to do.
It's always tempting to want to counter one of those Brainstorms.
Yeah.
It being arguably the best card in Legacy and all.
But in this spot, you want to save your Pierce probably to actually protect your Stoneforge Mystic. Bernie can also just pay. And it's not clear. It's not one of these matchups where you connect once with your Jite and you run away with the game.
Yeah. It's very strange to me that people consider, Brainstorm to be the best card, the best or one of the best cards in Legacy, yet it's almost correct always to not counter it.
I think it doesn't get countered often enough, but a lot of it depends on context. Part of it is just so hard to fight over in a lot of spots.
Wasteland going to take care of Volcanic Island. Umezawa Jite going to slide through. VanMeter is going to start his turn off with a Ponderu. So hit 1, 2, and 3. You see Delver. You see it looks to be a Scalding Tarn and another copy of Spell Pierce. So we'll see what Chris wants to do here. He could set up a Delver to flip, or you could take a land, equip the Jite, and start getting some counters on his equipment.
I think Chris also correctly suspects that he can't just put Today on the Stoneforge Mystic and run away with the game, he needs to set up a slightly better board, give himself a little more resiliency against potential removal spells that Bernie could have access to.
Well, there's your Delver's Secrets. And likely to have a Spell Pierce on the top of his deck to flip the Delver, to start getting in the air. And just actually kind of having the Jite there is this kind of thing that that Bernie has to be scared of the entire time. As when it's going to draw a copy of Wasteland here.
Now he himself could try to cut off Chris from mana here. He has additional Wasteland in hand. If he had a removal spell for the Delver's Secrets, he could be in really good shape.
Show me a Spell Pierce is what Delver's Secrets is going to do. Going to flip into Insectile Aberration. Spell Pierce going to go to the grip. You see VanMeter's hand right now. Double Spell Pierce, excuse me, and Force of Will. So in comes Chris for 4 points of damage. Bernie going to go down to 9. And that early damage at the beginning of the game from 2 Thoughtseizes and Gataxian Probe starting to really add up now.
Yep. Bernie does have 1 copy of Abrupt Decay in his deck, which would be very good right now.
Going down to 8, a little bit dangerous. 2-turn clock as opposed to a 3-turner. Gets a beautiful Underground Sea. So after VanMeter does shuffle and present back to him, Bernie's gonna need a little help here. He's in some serious trouble.
Yeah.
Especially when you're facing down Force of Will and double Spell Pierce, it's very unlikely that, any spell that Bernie does draw is going to resolve. It's gonna have to be a creature, and even then, no guarantee that that's gonna get in there. Here's a Gataxian Probe to start things off. See, now Bernie has all this information.
Yeah.
See?
I'm in a lot of trouble. Now I know. Yeah. Before I would have just had to guess. Now I'm positive.
Yeah. Spells are no good. See, Bernie, I believe drew a land off that. He's flipping between a Wasteland and Underground Sea.
He did draw a Plow.
That's not so bad. He's just going to pass the turn back. So VanMeter going to quickly untap. Going to take a draw. There's a Plow on the Delver before he does draw. Again, double Spell Pierce and Force Will. You guys can see that at home, him flipping through those cards. Those are his options. He can pay for 1 Spell Pierce. Can't pay for the other, but that would get 2 cards out of VanMeter's hand. So that feels like a win.
Yeah.
In this situation.
It's just a question of what is Bernie actually trying to set up here. So now that he's used Force of Will here, I would imagine that we're going to be wastelanding inside the upkeep. Perhaps not. He must be trying to get us to something fairly expensive. Maybe Liliana the Veil with the ability to pay for Pierce, but allowing Chris to equip the Jite this turn cuts off some outs. As then both creatures are lethal the following turn.
Yeah. Time to equip up Stoneforge, getting into the red zone here.
It's not really clear what he has in his deck to be able to beat the Spell Pierce in Chris's hand. I guess it could be land into Snapcaster Plow.
I guess that could be okay.
That's something.
Yeah. It certainly isn't Chase. Land in the Snapcaster Plow. That would give him another turn.
Yeah, that's 1 turn,
Yeah.
and then a removal spell for Stoneforge, and then we're fine, in quotes. But he just might be a little short of containing all of this. Again, he has Wasteland. He could Wasteland the 1 mana that Chris has available, but both the creatures are lethal, so the one Jason in his hand doesn't let him do it.
Yep, and
that's
he's going
game.
to come to that conclusion. He's going to concede the game. So Chris VanMeter is going to win game number 1 here over Bernie Wen. Blue, White, Red Delver up a game over Esper Deathblade. We'll move on to the sideboards here, as those players will do the same, and we'll start on Bernie's side.
Well, for starters, the fact that he, with the 2 Gataxian probes in his deck, he doesn't have any copies of Meddling Mage in the sideboard, to me is a near unforgivable sin. But setting that aside, he has an Abrupt Decay, a Spell Snare, 2 Surgical Extractions, 2 Vendilion Clicks, a Flusterstorm, a Lawan, a Diabolic Edict, a Sword of Feast and Famine, an additional Swords of Plowshares, a Loam, 2 Zealous Persecutions, and a Crozan Grip. I suspect that we are going to see certainly the additional Plow come in. I think we're going to want to see Life from the Loan, as Chris's list is very susceptible to getting Wasteland locked. I think he's going to want the extra removal and the Diabolic Edict and the Abrupt Decay. It's possibly one Zealous Persecution as a way to fight over opposing True Name Nemesis. And I don't think we're going to see Lawan or Vendilion Click or those kind of cards come in here.
I don't think so either, as we take a look at VanMeter's side. Pretty stock stuff here from the Blue Red Delver player. 1 Red Elemental Blast, 1 Wear and Tear with Grim Lavamancer, 2 copies of Rest in Peace, an additional True Name Nemesis to go along with this 2 in the main deck, the Sword of Feast and Famine, a Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Ethersworn Cannons, and 3 copies of Meddling Mage. Of the options here, True Name's certainly going to come in, as we are playing some fair Magic. I mean, the Blast, do you like Blast in this matchup?
It's not great.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's particularly good. Meddling Mage I don't love in this matchup. Grafdigger's Cage, no. Sword of Feast and Famine, again, no. I'd rather have Fire and Ice in this matchup than Feast and Famine. I don't think Feast and Famine's bad. It's just not exciting.
Right.
That's really bad. I mean, I guess the Grim Lavamancer should probably come in.
Given the fact that, Bernie doesn't have a lot in the way of and blue cards, rather, and that with Wasteland and potentially Loam, Chris is likely to get cut off of red mana. I think the red blasts are incorrect to bring in.
Okay. Well, we will see.
I mean, if Bernie's plan after board basically goes to spot removal plus Loam, then those red blasts are going to be... It's not very valuable in that kind of game. Not to overvalue this one Loam, but Bernie doesn't have very much in the way of blue cards to begin with. And he can certainly win without them. They're not integral to what's going on.
Well, both players will sideboard how they feel is best, and we'll see what they do bring in. But if you guys are just joining us, Cedric Hills, Patrick Sullivan, StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Columbus, Ohio. Already crowned Standard Open champion, Mike Kenny, who will be filling in for the Industry Standard segment, talk about his red-white tokens deck, or Big Boros, as he deems it. Very impressive past couple of weeks here for him, making the top 8 in Indianapolis. Kind of overshadowed by Owen Turntenwald's win and Andrew Shout's runner-up finish. But coming back here, a 10-round Standard Open, and don't forget Indianapolis was an 11-round Standard Open, and hoisting the trophy here, defeating Kent Ketter in the finals, defeating a red-white devotion deck. That means we had 8 Sacred Foundries in the top match in our Standard Open, which was pretty crazy to even think about.
Yeah, going into the tournament, of course, it's mono black, mono blue, and then everything else. I mean, that's everyone's perception of where the metagame's at right now. But go and look at the top 4, especially. I mean, that if you're in that mono blue, mono black narrative right now, that top 4 throws it for a bit of a loop.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And of course, you guys can join us on social media at SCG Live, hashtag SCGCOL. All weekend long, we'll be taking a look at the Born of the Gods spoilers yet again. Some more will be coming out this week, so that's definitely exciting. We'll also be crowning a champion legacy and giving away 21 months of premium overall.
Yes.
As we did figure out last weekend,
right.
It is 21, 3, 6, and then 12 throughout our quarters, semis, and finals later this evening. So it should be a fun weekend. Looking forward to it here in Columbus. Always great to be back in the Greater Columbus Convention Center. This is a place I've played. I can't even count how many tournaments.
And we got some pierogies coming, which I'm really excited about.
We do have some pierogies coming for lunch.
Ruben Bresler on the case. We had him yesterday. First time in my life I had them.
I still can't believe it's the first time in your life you've ever had a pierogi. Yeah. That's crazy to me.
Well, it won't be my last, I'll tell you what.
Yeah. There's a great place across the street from the convention center called Barley's. Funny story, Ruben actually learned how to play Magic from the son of the owner of Barley's. So It's a place that we want to keep in business, obviously.
Yeah. And Ruben's as local as it gets. His parents
Yes.
came by the convention center. They're apparently a 5-minute drive from here.
Yeah, they live right off of Broad Street, which is right by Ohio State. The campus is very close there. If you've never been to Columbus, great city. Great city. Not the biggest city, more of a college town, actually. Got the college town atmosphere.
Yeah. Ruben grew up closer to this venue than I did from the New Jersey venue, which is pretty crazy to think about.
You grew up 15 minutes from the Jersey venue?
Yeah.
That is insane. That is absolutely insane. But it is always great when we have tournaments here. We're going to be back here in this same building during the Origins Convention. We'll be running an invitational that weekend. We typically run an Open Series event when Origins does come to town. I know last year we did a Standard and Legacy Open, of course, the year before as well. And we'll be doing one much bigger invitational in Columbus in June. So
and it's going to be great to have a big event back in Origins.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
For those of you who are historians of American Magic, used to be the site of Nationals, Origins Team Challenge. A lot of really significant early tournaments took place there. You know, Origins is not the competitive Magic event it used to be, although it's still a rather large convention. And for someone as nostalgic as myself, it's great to see that venue hold something big again.
It's sad to me that Origins isn't as big as it used to be. That was a highlight when I was, in between 14 to 17 years old. That's what I was doing in the summer.
Yeah.
During my summer job, I would take one vacation. And I said, boss, there's no way you can make me work these couple of days. Because I'm not sleeping for 3 or 4 days. I'm just going to play Magic the whole time. If only I had known that the Wastelands were so much then as they are now.
I have some regrets.
Yeah, I feel like I missed the boat just a little bit there. I'm going to see a Gataxian Probe. Giddy up. It's information time.
Show me what you're working with.
I don't think Chris wants to.
Oh.
See a hand of Spell Pierce, Brainstorm, Stoneforge Mystic, and Swords of Plowshares, along with a Wasteland, a Tundra, and a Volcanic Island. So Bernie will get all that information down at the cost of 2 life, but he will get a card. And we'll see how he wants to navigate the rest of the turns of this game. You are just so happy right now.
I am quite happy. Look at him writing down the contents of his opponent's hand, all those valuable reactive cards he now knows about. Now there's a Wasteland he knows about. He knows that Chris only has the 1 creature in his hand, so 1 spot removal spell is really good against his hand. He's aware of a Spell Pierce that he can play around.
It slices, it dices. What can it do?
There's a cheap spell in the graveyard in case he finds one of his Snapcaster mages.
There's a Wasteland coming after the Scrublin. All right, that's going to bite the dust. All right, time for Bernie to draw a card. Yes, Chris's turn was just playing Wasteland, so now second copy of Flooded Strand, and Bernie will pass the turn back. Excuse me. Chris draws another Wasteland.
And Chris trying to decide if he's willing to cast this Stoneforge Mystic into the jaws of a potential counterspell for all that he knows. Also tapping out when his only protection is Spell Pierce is some risk.
There's Stoneforge. And that's good to go. At least the front part of it. We'll see what equipment he searches up. He goes by Batterskull pretty quickly. He's going to Sword of Feast and Famine.
A little bit more reasonable for him to cast in this game. Also very threatening against Bernie's control deck. Bernie would much rather get hit by a 4-power lifelinker than get hit by a green-black sword. All
right, and Bernie's going to sacrifice a Flooded Strand here, knowing that the shields are basically down unless Chris was able to peel off a Force of Will. Again, because of Gataxian Probe, he does know the contents of the hand. The mystery card, I think, right now is just Wasteland. Maybe you'll see a Brainstorm here. That's what we are going to see.
You know, foil Japanese, Mercadian Mass Brainstorm, no big deal. Trying to sculpt the perfect hand here. working with pretty solid information. He has Liliana in hand. He might try to stick that next turn.
So we might see 2 cards going back on top here. Maybe a sacrifice of the fetch land. We'll see.
I think it's likely he's putting the Wasteland back, and looks like he does want to draw it.
Yep. He does know that VanMeter only does have 1 white source of mana because of the old
Yes.
the old Gataxian probe. So he can actually wasteland that white source of mana and make it so that Chris has to actually draw a fetch land, maybe brainstorm into a white source of mana or ponder or what have you. But you can actually cut the white mana.
Yep. We know Chris is drawing a fetch land, so he can go get a backup Tundra. But with the information that Bernie is currently working with, that wasteland could be valuable.
Being updated right now, Todd Anderson does win his match. He moves on to 4-1, excuse me, playing Jund Depths.
He said he got a little bit wackier with his brew.
Yeah, he's got some reanimation targets in the sideboard.
Oh.
And some copies of Reanimate or Exhume or something. I don't know what he's up to. It's obviously working so far. It's Tundra.
Maybe he doesn't want that to get potentially wastelanded,
Yeah.
as he knows that is in Chris's hand. So he's trying to figure out which land he's happiest to get wastelanded.
Maybe true name. Oh, Liliana, okay.
And Liliana, very good right now, that's for sure. Chris with no backup creature right now, so
Yeah.
if he doesn't find a creature next turn, Liliana gets a plus, and then it's another Edict in play. So we'll see if Chris is able to find a creature this turn.
Well, a good start is Brainstorm, so that's where we're going to begin. So 2 and 3. So let's see what VanMeter is going to add to his hand. Looks like 2 fetch lands and another copy of Brainstorm.
Yeah, this is,
It's a great spot here for Bernie.
yep. If he gets to untap with no creatures on Chris's side of the table, he gets start to do some real damage.
Oh, as long as he's got some cards, he's perfectly fine discarding. VanMeter going to sacrifice his Scalding Tarn, make it a perfect Brainstorm. We'll see which land he does search up. Will it be blue-white or blue-red? It's going to be blue-red.
Bernie's mana base is actually stretched pretty thin. I know that he has to be really careful about what lands he's searching up with his fetches, because actually has a lot of needs colored mana-wise.
VanMeter with another copy of Brainstorm. I think he might be looking for a Bolt.
A Bolt or any creature. I mean, even a Grim Lavamancer would be fine. Just something to threaten the Liliana next turn.
Yeah. He did not find what he was looking for. Forcible Spell Pierce and an Arid Mace are the cards that are added to his hand via Brainstorm. So he's going to have to put 2 of these back and then draw one of them the next turn.
And this is a hand that's very susceptible to Liliana plussing as well. It's nearly all reactive cards.
Yeah. I mean, tough to decide what 2 cards to put back, too. And you see a hand there, Spell Pierce in the Grip Forcible, a couple blue cards, a couple copies of Wasteland. But problem number 1 is the Planeswalker that's on the table, and when he gets to untap with it, take a draw step here, see if he can find some action. He does have a Brainstorm hanging out in his hand, so maybe that's where he'll start his turn. And that's what he's going to do. See if VanMeter wants to fight over this. Again, he's got a Spell Pierce. He can tap Bernie out. He can cast a Force of Will. Bernie does have a lot of cards in his hand, though. Casting a Force of Will on a Brainstorm, especially when there's Liliana in play, does seem quite dangerous, so he's going to let that resolve.
You can understand what Chris is thinking, though. You know, he doesn't want to get wastelanded this turn. It's also, how long is he going to grip onto these counter spells when he's facing down Liliana, potentially plussing every turn, but he's going to hold off for now.
And Liliana creates a unique sub-game that we don't see a ton of in Legacy anymore, especially in a matchup like this where, you have to really weigh a lot of things now that that card's in play. The way that you go about playing your lands, counter spells, there are a lot of different decisions to make.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on both players. It's not just Chris.
Yeah.
Bernie as well needs to figure out how he's going to sculpt the next couple of turns.
Bernie ready to discard with Liliana. Puts a Tundra down on his side, too. Chris puts on his. I heard Mesa might be the choice. That's the one that's brought forward. That is what it's going to be. So Thunder and Air and Mesa both going to go down, but more importantly, Liliana's going to check up to 2, which means that if Chris does draw a creature, it is taken care of. Chris really needs a Lightning Bolt right now.
Yep.
I felt that's what he was digging for. Previously, wasn't able to find it, just found a lot of reactive cards, as you did mention.
I think he would have been happy to find anything that pressured that Liliana. Bolt would have been ideal, but
Yeah.
just a castable creature would have done some amount of work.
We see part of the reason he was happy to discard the Arid Mesa. Does draw a Scalding Tarn for the turn.
I mean, he almost needs to just start off this turn by brainstorming again.
He's going to start by sacrificing Scalding Tarn to get a fresh 3, because he knows the top card of his deck.
Right.
From the previous brainstorm, he put 2 back, drew Scalding Tarn, which was the newest one. He knows the top card, and now he wants to, really try to dig here for something of relevance.
Well, losing that shuffle there is a little rough when his hand is as bad as it is.
Almost assuredly.
Yeah. I guess he's kind of rocking a hard place right now.
He could find something really nice, though, with the brainstorm, so let's see what he finds. 2, 3. It was a red card, but it is not a Lightning Bolt.
It was a Pyroblast.
To go along with the Delver to Ponder, it looks like. Or Delver and Spell Pierce, excuse me. So that's not it. Now,
No.
he might be in the situation now where he's got to play Delver just so Liliana eats it.
And hope. I mean, if Bernie has a removal spell, then things get really bad.
Yeah, we might actually see a fight over a removal spell at that point. Just look at the way Liliana can affect the game.
Yeah. And it's so taxing on all of Chris's resources. Chris debating about casting this Delver, but his hand doesn't really allow him to do anything else. He certainly can't say go, so even though there's some risk with this play, I don't think his hand really affords him the option to do much else. And you see Bernie, this is where he's going to fight over this, as if he doesn't have to minus Liliana, he can plus again. He's probably pretty confident there's no Lightning Bolt waiting from Chris, so he can really start draining Chris's defenses and leave extra edicts in play as well.
Yeah, that's really, we've said rocking a hard place multiple times and still in it.
Yeah. Is he willing to use 2 cards to fight over this?
Yeah.
When Bernie has an edict in play, but Chris doesn't really have an alternative.
Yeah, I don't think he has an alternative either. I think he has to counter this and force Liliana to eat this. I think that's what really happens. He's got Pyroblast if it's going to be a counter war, which is fine, but Bernie's going to quickly untap. And if you're Bernie, you're obviously thrilled about this exchange. Mm-hmm. I don't think you want to lose your Liliana, but at the same time, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do, I think.
And, what happens if he finds another removal spell?
Yeah. Abrupt Decay being the best of the bunch. There's a Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, that about does
Yeah,
it.
this is really...
This can be Pyroblasted. I think he
Sure.
does have to Pyroblast it. Yeah. Because he obviously can't counter the Swords with Pyroblast, so you have to start by countering the Snapcaster. Mm-hmm. You aren't really left with an option. And this is all just a fight over Liliana at this point. That's
Right.
all this exchange is. And now finally Bernie says, okay, fine, I will use my Liliana to take care of your Delver. You've expended all these resources to make it so I don't have to use Liliana. I'm perfectly fine making that exchange and passing the turn back. So we'll see how Chris does now that all of this stuff has happened.
And now it's Pierce Plow against whatever Bernie can put together.
I believe a couple of copies of True Name Nemesis are over there on Bernie's side.
And this is a weakness now of the blue-white-red Delver deck is a resolved True Name Nemesis is, you can race it.
Yeah.
You got Pyroblast on the spot, and that's really the only way this deck has to fight over it.
The question is Bernie willing to cast it. He's going to start by playing a Snapcaster Mage. And if you're Chris, you say that's fine.
Oh, is he getting the Cataxia Probe?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Targets his probe. It's all about value, Patrick.
Oh. And if he draws a land off of this, he knows the coast is clear.
Yep. Probe ya. Alternate cost, go down to 14. This is your dream.
Someone pinch me.
Sees the coast is clear. See if he does draw land.
Oh, he
boy.
does.
Yeah. I guess I'll cast my true name Nemesis now.
Bernie, you're too good to me. Look at this.
I swear, folks, this is not scripted. This is not how we drew it up. And now there is the coast is clear. True name Nemesis. I choose you, Mr. VanMeter.
With the information, he was able to make a better decision.
Mm-hmm. But he had to take 2, so there's that.
Big cost.
Yeah, there's that. Pretty nice turn there from one. Pretty nice, set of turns, honestly.
Yeah.
The way that he has set this game up to get into this position here. The VanMeter takes a draw, another copy of Spell Pierce, quickly passes the turn back. And you see that we're about at 15 minutes on the clock. And at that point, this game is getting away from Chris.
Oh, absolutely.
The last thing we want to see, now this game is really getting away from Chris. Back-to-back Spell Pierces will take care of this, which, Chris drew the second one last turn. Bernie will pay for this one. Spell Pierce will take care of this. But he's still doing great.
Yeah, it's Plow against nothing.
Yeah.
Now, True Name against nothing. I think Bernie has a Zealous Persecution in his hand right now, which covers Chris if in the event that he draws a True Name Nemesis of his own.
Well, it's time for Runner. I think it was just Lightning Bolt past the turn back. Bernie's going to draw a card. In for 3. Put VanMeter down to 11. And we have seen this before.
And now if I'm Bernie, I'm definitely using Wasteland here because you had to be worried about
Batter Skull.
I don't know if that got discarded many turns ago or something, but...
Chris searched for Sword of Feast and Famine with that Stoneforge, so Batter Skull is still a very live draw here. And it would force Bernie to actually put the brakes on with the True Name Nemesis. So he wouldn't be able to win the race then. VanMeter takes a draw. And he's going to pack it in. So Bernie one's going to tie it up between him and VanMeter. So we're going to go to a third and final one between these two players. Esper Deathblade versus Blue White Red Delver.
2 pretty exciting games thus far. You're seeing, game 1, you kind of saw the Delver game plan get executed of, Bernie was just a little short. Almost had it all tied up, but couldn't quite get it done. That game, Chris got one of the threat light draws that Delver gets on occasion. And Bernie was able to use removal long enough, fend off Chris long enough to start developing his own powerful stuff.
Well, let's see if players are going to change anything here. You see VanMeter's already gone back to his side, but he's going to be on the play of this game. We're about 13 minutes left on the clock here as we're going to start game number 3. Don't want to see this one end in a draw either. We saw our last match almost end in a draw, due unfortunately to an untimely game loss. However, man, you want both players to maybe pick up the pace here a little bit. I'm sure neither one of them wants to get a draw in this scenario, but there's a lot of back and forth here with the shuffling, the brainstorming, and posturing around Spell Pierce and Daze and Force of Will and how you want the course of the game to go. It's not short.
No.
That's for sure.
And there's every decision has so many potential consequences because there's a wide range of reactive cards in each player's deck.
Mm-hmm.
So not easy Magic to play by any stretch of the imagination.
And certainly not easy Magic to play quickly.
No.
That's the big part, is all of your decisions are magnified, and you have to think about everything the entire time, so that's not something you can do really fast.
Yeah, it looks like Chris appears to be removing the Wear Tear.
He hasn't seen the equipment yet, so I can see a reason to do that.
This is true.
And there's no, I guess there is Stoneforge Mystic hanging out, so.
4 of them.
Yeah. Feels like he can, if there is Stoneforge Mystic in Bernie's deck, which of course there is, I think he's under the opinion of, well, I think I'll still be okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if that does come
and there's
true.
there's only so many reactive cards you can put in your deck. Also, when you're facing against Liliana too, that's a risk also.
Yeah, of course.
As you become more susceptible to just getting plussed when you don't have enough proactive cards.
All right, well, both players will be underway here shortly. Make sure, if you guys do want to chat with us at SCG Live, hashtag SCGCOL for your tweets. We're in round 5 of 9 here in Legacy. And we do appreciate you guys joining us. A lot of options out there on this busy Sunday, up to and including Seahawks football.
I didn't know that you were on that bandwagon now.
Well, I abandoned the Browns because, after 27 years, almost 28 here in 2 months, I've had
Believe
enough.
land.
No.
I thought that was a thing.
No, it's too much now. I don't like to change allegiances. I'm very loyal, but you can only take so much in life, Patrick.
Sure.
You can only take losing for so long. And we are quickly underway here. VanMeter with a Delver. Both players kept very, very fast. And now here's a Deathrite Shaman. So Premier 1-drops in the format, they come out.
Yep. Chris with an excellent start here of Delver Secrets and Stoneforge Mystic. Bernie with his own Premier 1-drop with Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, he'll be accelerating. VanMeter really wanted that to flip, obviously, to have a perfect start. And this is another copy of Delver. See if he's going to be able to set it up.
Looking at a hand of Pierce, Stoneforge, and 2 lands. If appearances appear to be correct here. Yep.
Well, Bernie knows draw a card. He'll have access to 3 mana on this turn if he wants it. There's Flooded Strand. Let's see what he wants to do. Got a Brainstorm. Got some other stuff. Just going to pass the turn back. All right, Delver, show me what you're working with. Trigger number 1. Ding, 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 ding. Flip this one, 2. Now, the big question is, does VanMeter actually want to draw Daze?
Yep. He can just shuffle it away before he draws if he's feeling so
Yeah,
inclined.
you saw him almost add it to his hand. It looks like we're here before the draw step. Here's a Brainstorm. I think the big question here is if you're Bernie, I think I know what he's trying to set up. Actually, I take that back. I really don't. I thought maybe he might want to try to set up a Zealous Persecution, but they've already flipped.
Yeah.
So it's not going to work.
He may be searching for Abrupt Decay, potentially.
He said one of those in his list?
One in the board as well.
Okay. He wants to resolve this Brainstorm right now. So Daze is going to go to VanMeter's grip. VanMeter more than happy to draw that card. So that's the information that Bernie doesn't know about. Attack for 6 going to put Wen down to 18 for now. We'll see how low he's actually going to go.
Yeah. And it's really critical for Bernie to be able to resolve a removal spell this turn, as Chris's hand of Spell Pierce and Daze is going to keep him off some of his more expensive action.
Gonna remove a land. This might be the Decay that you mentioned. We'll see. Yep, that's an Abrupt Decay to take care of one of the Delvers. Can't count on that one with Spell Pierce.
That was really important for Bernie to have that card right there.
It really, really was. He was underneath the gun quite a bit here, and now he's able to catch up.
Let's keep in mind, Chris doesn't have a lot going on with his hand, with the exception, of what's on the board right now. Bernie's able to find removal spells for these threats, or present his own threats. Chris is left with a couple, soft permission spells. He's really all in on what he has on the board at this point.
The choice is Jitte here with the Stoneforge Mystic. Not Batterskull.
Don't get me wrong, Chris's opening is very good here, but...
Oh, I mean, he's off to a fantastic start, especially when you're kind of under the gun as far as the clock is concerned. And I think everything is beautiful here for Chris, but we had a long game to play here.
Yeah.
There's a Trop. You see Bernie rushing a little bit here, trying to figure out what spell to cast. Looks like he's going to go maybe with a Stoneforge Mystic this go around.
Yeah, he's
just going to
going to pass again. Looks like he has Snapcaster Mage in hand.
That would be quite good right now. So
he knows about Daze. It's pretty bad for a Snapcaster to get Daze when his only spell is Abrupt Decay.
That's true. Back here for 3. All right, he's going to take the damage. So maybe he has a greater plan. We'll see.
Maybe he's happy to bleed out this Daze to try to set up something even bigger.
Going to remove Delver to gain 2 life. Going to go up to 14. Now here's a Brainstorm on the end step. Now this is a little bit problematic. I don't think this is a bad play by any stretch of the imagination, but it's an end step Brainstorm. He's going to have to redraw one of these cards, potentially 2 of them if he doesn't have a fetch land. So we'll see. VanMeter looks like he wants to Spell Pierce this. He says that's fine. Giving away a little bit of information, it feels like. So 2 cards are going to get placed back rather quickly. So there those go. He says still done. Chris says yes. Bernie puts his Brainstorm in the graveyard, takes a draw, Polluted Delta into play. Again, we know he's Stoneforge Mystic. We know he has a copy of Snapcaster Mage in his hand. Jite is going to come into play, it looks like now.
So now he has the ability to Snapcaster Abrupt Decay and not care about days.
Yeah. Which is why we probably saw him wait so long.
Right.
There is Snapcaster Mage. Question I have for you, what are you Abrupt Decaying?
It is either the Jite or the Delver. You may be happy to trade your board with for the Stoneforge. If he were to equip the Stoneforge and attack, you block with your Snapcaster Mage, everything trades. I think Bernie would be happy with that exchange right now, assuming Chris doesn't draw a creature basically this turn.
All right. Take a draw. Arid Mesa.
Still on Days Pierce in Chris's hand.
Yeah. Stoneforge going to get equipped, attack. Yep, this is the trade that you talked about. That happens immediately. 2 counters going to go on. He's going to finish off Deathrite Shaman. I think if you're Bernie, this is a win right now.
Oh, sure.
That exchange is a win.
Certainly, given the way Chris's hand is composed, this is excellent. And Bernie's draw sets, pound for pound, are a lot more powerful from here.
I agree. I mean, it feels like at this point, the only thing that Chris can really draw that's great is True Name. That's what it feels like he's kind of pigeonholed himself, into. Batterskull's also a pretty good draw. And, if Batterskull's a good draw, that means Stoneforge is probably a good draw too.
Yeah.
But his great draws, they are few and far between, it feels like. And Bernie will search out a Batterskull.
And this is, Chris has no answer to this Batterskull, not in hand. It's not even clear if there's a Wear Tear left in his deck.
It looked like he sideboarded out. You see Deathrite Shaman's going to join the party now too.
And don't underestimate the speed of Bernie's clock at this point. There's a lot of spells in that graveyard.
Another copy of Daze.
This has been a really well-crafted game by Bernie.
Yeah, I agree. But one thing that this game does is it just really shows the power of Abrupt Decay.
Yes.
That's the big one to me.
It's such a critical sideboard card against these soft permission decks because there's cheap permanents and soft permission to protect them. And Abrupt Decay just gives you the time that you need.
Source of Plowshare, the draw here for VanMeter. When just immediately drew his card, I think he had another True Name Nemesis to his hand, but he has no inclination to put that into play.
Right.
He's going to put a Germ Token in. There's BBD on the Batterskull. You see, Wen is really moving here. He knows about the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sure on his side he can sense that he's probably got this game now, sensing some weakness on VanMeter's hand, and everyone at home can see that he really doesn't have very much action. He's got Double Daze, Spell Pierce, Source of Plowshares, really not much going on. Now Bernie's really turning the corner. Here's True Name Nemesis. The Fun Police has shown up. It can play around Double Daze appropriately with Deathrite and Polluted Delta. You see Chris is going to take a look at the graveyard here.
There's a land.
Yep. So he has to say that resolves, because his Dazes aren't going to get anything done. Yeah, and after what looked to be a fantastic, I don't want to say unbeatable because clearly it is beatable, but a great start by VanMeter, boy, have things changed here.
Well, there's a lot of, there is a lot of pressure on these blue-white-red Delver decks to continue to draw removal spells to continue to draw creatures rather against decks with a bunch of removal spells. And there's not that many threats. I mean, there's 10 in the main deck, maybe a Lavamancer, an extra True Name Nemesis in the sideboard. And in the matchups where your additional creature is killed, then you have to spend time cantripping and trying to find extra threats. Sometimes you don't find them at all, and sometimes the time that you spend trying to find them allows your opponent to set up shop.
Now, one thing, it looks like VanMeter made a mistake here on this turn. You can see a little bit of frustration because he's showing Double Daze, but what he wanted to do is he wanted to sword the Deathrite Shaman, and then in response to the Deathrite Shaman activation, daze the True Name, and then daze it again. But what he actually ended up doing is he let the swords resolve. And so as a result, he let